Yo, hello. Can you hear me this time? Can you hear me, anybody? Ah, excellent. Now then. No, this is a new one. It's actually number 4, but I've got it down as number 3. Right. Okay, well, we'll let a few get back in then, I suppose. Well, I've never had any problems before, I'll tell you that, like this. I'm naughty. What's that am I drinking? It's Evian and Dandelion and Burdock. Playing games. They're being very naughty. 77th Brigade. British Army. Not England. Okay. So they're little tossers that play with themselves on Xbox. Unit 8200. Israel. That's what's going down. Yeah, if it freezes again, I'm not going to turn it off because I'm probably not. There's probably a way to do it easier, but I'm not. I've never had to do that before, so I don't really know what crack is. Crazy tube. Bandwidth, yeah, that could be the case. Yeah, I think you might be right there, actually. Like I said, I've pissed them off because I've been hunting them down there for about 3 weeks, and when I hunt someone down, I get there, and they know it, and they know I know it, and I'll tell you what it is. I can see what's going on. I can see what's going on in the big motherfucking game. Yeah, I doubt it. I've noticed it last week and a half. All these little shenanigans. They took over all my platforms. The only thing that's not is my website. Everything else they have access to. Because the UN now, get this, the UN can now ring up a horse party company like YouTube or anybody else, declare you a terrorist. They can actually remove your DNS from your systems. That means nobody can access from that URL your stuff. Yeah. Eclipse over Antarctica. There's a lot more going on in Antarctica. There's a big meeting going on down there as well. And they're saying that everything will be sorted out down there. So, yeah. Yeah, I think you're right there, bandwidth for that talk. It's never happened before, but I have noticed a lot of things happening in the last week and a half. Pretty much how it used to be back in day when I were thick at it all the time. I think it is. Rumble's going to be the way, isn't it? To be fair, or I'm thinking of doing them on myself on my website, but they wouldn't be long videos. They'd only be short. Because I'm governing WordPress as to how big the file. I think I can do a gig. If you know how I can expand that rate, but I've tried. It doesn't seem to be another. That might be a bit of help. Or I'm gonna have to set up something new. I'm thinking. Because like I've always said, they can do what they want. It doesn't stop me. It just shifts me to doing something in another way. It doesn't matter to me, which way it goes. And leafleting is an exceptional way of getting data out to people. Just stick it on under the windscreen everywhere. Very easy. Gets the masses. I've done it and I've handed them out. And generally, if I'm out handing leaflets, which I haven't done for years, people come to me. I don't necessarily have to be wandering around all over the show. People actually come to you. It's quite interesting. If they see other people reacting well to what it is you're giving out, people tend to come to you and get it. So that's another method for people to consider. And you don't have to even do that. Like I said, just put it under everybody's windscreen. Okay, let's get down to business. So last week we looked at. Are there any Aussies on here today? Actually, I've not looked. I don't think we have. I don't think we've got any Aussie lads on here today. Okay, so I'm just going to go through. This is a biography. Eric Dean Prince, okay? Born June the 6th, 1969. So he's lad's a year older than me. He's today an American businessman, former US Navy SEAL officer, and a founder of the private military company Blackwater USA, now called Academy, or Academy rather, so with an I. He served as Blackwater CEO until 2009, and its chairman until it sold to a group of investors in 2010. Prince heads the private equity firm Frontier Resource Group, and served as chairman of the Hong Kong-listed Frontier Services Group until 2021. Prince is the son of an engineer and businessman, Edgar Prince, and the brother of former US Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. Now, Edgar Prince was a billionaire and a staunch Zionist, okay, and I mean staunch Zionist. So Eric Prince got left over $1 billion to set up this private Rambo operation. Okay, he was born in Holland, Michigan, the son of we've done that, and his mother was called Elsa Zweep, which is telling. And he was the youngest of 4 children. He graduated from Holland Christian High School. Then Prince and his father toured the world. This gets interesting. Visiting the Dachau concentration camp in Germany, divided Berlin, and the battlefields of Normandy. According to his mother, these trips made a big impression on the young Eric Prince. Okay, so he gets dragged around all the propaganda that beefs up this Zionist model. He then, in 1990, secured an internship at the White House under George H.W. Bush. So that's Daddy Bush, not the lunatic. But soon left to intern for California Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, President Ronald Reagan's former speechwriter. Yeah, we've seen the names that have picked him up, aren't we? And so Rohrabacher described Prince as a bright, driven young man. At the age of 21, Prince volunteered to search for a mass grave in Nicaragua. Guys, Rambo. To expose killings that had taken place under President Daniel Ortega, and later said that he had found the massive grave. So anger. There is an anger. After college, Prince was commissioned as an officer in the United States Navy via Officer Candidate School in 1992. He went on to become a Navy SEAL and deployed with SEAL Team 8 to Haiti, Middle East, and the Balkans. He credits the SEALs for being an outlet for his entrepreneurial spirit. In his autobiography, he states that during the Yugoslav wars in the early 1990s, he realized there was a need for private training facilities for special operations. Now, why would you consider that when you are operating in the greatest and biggest military operation on the planet? Why would you then think that you need something private? So this guy's being driven to that idea, okay? Prince moved to Virginia Beach and personally financed the formation of Blackwater worldwide in 1997. He bought 6,000 acres, and that's 24 square kilometers, of the Great Dismal Swamp of North Carolina and set up a school for special operations. The name Blackwater comes from the peat-coloured bogs in which the school is located. Can you hear me? Anybody? Can you still hear me, you guys? Can you hear me? Okay. Prince credits the 1994 Rwandan genocide with his decision to start Blackwater. He later said, "It really bothered me. It made me realise you can't sit back and pontificate. You have to act." Which was quite right. But we've had a look at the French guy who was really upset, making the claim that Rwanda was the first test of this frequency technology against the populations. Okay. Yeah, it got one tribe against another, and they killed millions, slaughtered them. It were actually the Christians that got slaughtered. Just sort of let you know, the others were not Christian. From 1997, so this is where it gets interesting. So they've brought him in, got him set up his own private. So again, whoever's mentoring this guy, they're going to be benefiting from whatever this guy sets up. Okay. From 1997 to 2010, Blackwater was awarded $2 billion in government security contracts, more than 1.6 billion of which were unclassified federal contracts and unknown amounts of classified work. So whoever's controlling this guy has now got its mitts into the Central Intelligence Agency. Okay, so from 2001 to 2010, the Central Intelligence Agency itself awarded up to 600 million in classified contracts to Blackwater and its affiliates. And this is from Wikipedia, by the way. This is no secret. This is Wikipedia. It became the largest of the State Department's 3 private security companies, providing 987 guards for embassies and bases abroad. Prince built a shooting range on his rural Virginia land to serve as a nearby training facility to CIA headquarters in Langley. In his memoir, Prince says that he provided the CIA with links to Afghan warlords who helped topple the Taliban and drive Al-Qaeda into hiding. Now, let's just have a look at Afghanistan, shall we? We are about to face the biggest movements of refugees that we've seen so far, and they're all going to parlay to Afghanistan. Up through the steppes, into Turkey, yeah, onto Europe. This is what all this pull-out nonsense is about. This is what all this leaving the weapons in Afghanistan's for the Taliban. Now, nobody is financing the Taliban because it's been declared by all concerned that the Taliban couldn't run a piss up in a brewery, let alone Afghanistan. All right? So these Afghans are going to flood into Pakistan. They're going to flood into Turkey. All those going westward are obviously going to be heading to get into Europe. Is anybody talking about it? Are any of these nations getting ready to create a border? No, they're not. And there's a reason for that. And to fully understand it, you've got to have looked at Nostradamus. Because it looks to me like this policy that they're actually carrying out is in sync with the prophecies of Nostradamus. Because while they're encouraging all these Muslims and Islamists to flood in, they're also creating what Nostradamus calls the Northern Alliance. Okay? The Northern Alliance, which doesn't come in until hell has been carried out across Europe, and they'll come in and mop up and kill everybody. That's the plan. All right? The Northern Alliance. Okay. So, where we got there? So he said that he provided the CIA with links to Afghan warlords who helped topple the Taliban and drive Al-Qaeda into hiding. In 2010, the Obama administration awarded the company $120 million United States Department of State security contract and about $100 million in new CIA work. So that's 2010 when Eric Prince left Blackwater. Now, I have an interview that he did on site. I will put that link up under this video. So, if we have a look at the kind of things Blackwater were involved in its time, bearing in mind it's still going, it's called Academy, and it's been taken over I would say, by the initial investors that mentored Eric Prince into creating this huge private military operation we know as Blackwater. They've now bought it up. He's left. He's now running an hedge fund in Africa, which again gets pretty interesting. So while they were around, Blackwater involved in disclosure as part of covert CIA task force. They were involved in private security for the United Arab Emirates, private equity investor in Africa, private equity firm called Frontier Resource Group. So that's what he's now running, I would say, for the same mentors that he worked under when he created Blackwater. And they're all over Africa. Meanwhile, encouraging Africans to leave Africa while killing the leaders as they move against this global script. He has ties to the Trump campaigns. So he funded Trump. He has connections to Nicolas Maduro and Venezuela. Political infiltration operations were alleged against Blackwater, and proposed cooperation with the Wagner Group and activities in Libya, including Project Opus. So that's how they dismantled Libya and got rid of Colonel Gaddafi. So Blackwater were involved in that. Now, all those are Zionist in aims, all of them. So I will present to you that this hidden force at the background is just that. Private intelligence created a private military force and encouraged all our best to join it for Spondoolies. Okay, so that's what the wars have been about. Exhausting the West militarily and financially, and then, scooping up all our best soldiers. And that's actually happened. That's gone on. But what you've got to look at this is that in the background here, we've got this huge. They use the term military all the time, and you assume they're referring to the nation's military, but they're not. They are always referring to this private military it's far bigger than just Blackwater, let's have it right, okay? So that's what's being built in the background. At the same time as they annihilate the populations with these feedback loops, giving them a basic form of autism, okay? Now, ties to the Trump campaigns. The New York Times reported in May 2018 that Prince arranged an August 2016 meeting with Trump Tower, attended by himself, Donald Trump Jr., George Nader, and Joel Zamel, during which Nader reportedly told Trump Jr. the Crown Princes of Saudi Arabia and the UAE were eager to help his father win the election. And Zamel pitched a social media manipulation campaign from his Israeli company, Psy Group. Okay. Prince has stated in his November 2017 testimony to the House Intelligence Committee that he had no formal communications or contact, nor any unofficial role with the Trump campaign. Asked about his contradiction in March 2019, Prince replied, "I do not know if the committee got the transcript." Wrong. And not all the discussion that day was transcribed. And that's a fact, he said. Prince acknowledged for the first time in March 2019 that he had attended the 2016 Trump Tower meeting, asserting he was there to talk about Iran policy. Special Counsel investigators have examined a meeting around January the 11th, 2017 in the Seychelles that was convened by the UAE, United Arab Emirates Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, also known as MBZ, which Prince attended. Eric Prince attended. Gets a bit confusing because the Crown Prince here. So Eric Prince attended that. Also present at the meeting were Nader and Kirill Dmitriev, the CEO of the state-owned Russian direct investment fund, who is close to Vladimir Putin. Okay, so they've created a left-right divide. They've enlivened, because we've had the Republicans in for quite a while, and then we got under Obama. They built up this huge left power, and have almost militarized it, have they not? In came Mr. Trump on the buzzwords that they picked up in the data collects from social media as to what the Americans were actually discussing. And Trump pretty much enshrined in what would have been normal people in America this idea that you're not normal, you are the right. You have to be the right. If you're not that, you have to be this. Now, we've heard a lot of things about how the military are backing him, the military this, but when you get down to this, because I followed all this during the time, the majority of those that are talking this stuff are, in many cases, Zionists themselves in the United States military. And Kay Griggs is excellent to absorb if you want to understand what's gone on with the high-end special forces in the United States, especially in the naval and the Marines arena. Okay, so here we have now, and there's also now we've got Russian ties into this move. Bearing in mind, Russia is controlled by the priesthood. About Lubavitch being the sort of public face of this new priesthood that they're setting up. Yeah. So we'll continue. The Mueller report later found that NATO had represented Prince Dmitriev as designated by Steve Bannon to meet you. I know him and he's very well connected and trusted by the new team. While Eric Prince acknowledged that it was fair for NATO to think that Prince would pass information on to the transition team, although Bannon told investigators that Prince had not informed him of the Dmitriev meeting in advance. Prince testified to the House Intelligence Committee that I didn't fly there to meet any Russian guy, although the Mueller report found that he and NATO made significant preparations to meet Dmitriev. Although Prince characterized a second meeting between him and Dmitriev in a hotel bar as a chance encounter of no consequence, the meeting was actually prearranged after Prince had learned from calls back at home that Russia had moved an aircraft carrier off Libya, and he wanted to convey that the United States would not accept any Russian involvement in Libya. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff announced on April the 30th, 2019 that he was sending a criminal referral to the Justice Department, alleging Prince had provided false testimony to the committee. United States Assistant Attorney General General Stephen Boyd confirmed on February the 4th, 2020, that the Department of Justice was opening an investigation into Prince. So that's something that's going on now. Prince describes himself as a libertarian. Prince said, I am a very free market guy. I'm not a huge believer that government provides a whole lot of solutions, which he wouldn't be because he's all about the private. Some think that government can solve society's problems. I tend to think private charities and private organisations are better solutions. Charities and private organisations. So he's not adding anything there. Prince's first wife, Mr. Bit. Prince is the younger brother of former United States Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos and the brother-in-law of former Alticorp Amway President Dick DeVos. Right, okay, so that's his sister's husband. So Alticorp or Amway. Prince's first wife, Joan Nicole, died of cancer in 2003, age 36. She introduced Prince to Catholicism. So we know his Zionist connected. We know that as a fact. And now here we get his links to what they class as Catholicism. I would probably more class as Jesuitism. Yeah, because, Trump's all linked up with the Jesuits and the Zionists. So is Eric Prince. So is Ricardo Bossi. And also Raytheon. Okay, so let's look at Australia there. What have we got? We've got an ex-SAS lad running around in the background, slagging the hell out of the Australian military, calling them puffs and cowards, moving into the political arena with a lot of good answers. Yeah, he's got quite a lot of good answers going on there. All right. So you've got Eric Prince in America, tied in with Trump, and you've got this move in Australia with a similar kind of character, now moving into politics, trying to gather the public to his cause as soldiers. Right? You've got Trump now, having been out of office for a while, supposedly gaining more traction with the military. But is it the US military? Or when they use the term military, is it just this, what was Blackwater and whatever it is today? Because it's a lot bigger. So you've got the Trumpets running around thinking Trump's on their side, yet he could very well be bringing forth this private military in to America, right? You could have Ricardo Bossi doing exactly the same in Australia. Now, in Australia, when it comes to Mr. Hood, Fringe Lunatic, Mr. Hood, I haven't forgot that. Okay, I haven't forgot that one. Another evangelical Zionist painting himself as the image of Jesus, while subtly moving people in sync with the mindset of Ricardo. Could that be what's appertaining here? And that what's actually going on here with all this division, these feed loops amongst the populations not being able to critically think, are they bringing in this private global military to completely take over all our national militaries, our systems, etc., at command level? Would that then be a glimpse into what we knew as the SS and the secret military side of Hitler, which came in full control of the established militaries? Yeah? Does that make a bit of sense to you guys out there? And can you still hear me? Nobody's talking. All right. Oh, now I've just realised what that delay is. I'm going to take that off next time. So basically, you've got in Australia, you've got these living ministries coming out of Adelaide, fully evangelical, pushing all this Zionism across the Australian population as saviours. But yet they are the controlled opposition because, like our soldiers have been encouraged to join the enemy as privateers, they now want to co-opt the entire Australian political class, and through getting you out onto these protests, which you notice the police have stepped down, so they're encouraging it because they want to get into you. You've got Moses symbolism. Can you see this? Can you see that this could very well be exactly what's going on everywhere? Because, of course, the trumpets are all in this feedback loop because they can't critically think. They're missing a lot of things that Mr. Trump said as president, like an interview. Well, not an interview. He was stood in front of a crowd and he said, quite quietly, "Don't worry, I'm paraphrasing because I might not get it perfect, but something to the effect of, nothing to worry about. A big monster's coming. It's going to do its thing, and then everything will be all right." And that's as they were pushing out this global narrative. So, is that making any sense to you guys out there? Because if that's the case, back to the feedback loop and the schismogenesis, first we have to grasp that as the mechanic that's being operated against us. Then you can apply it to, well, how am I sucking into this? How do I crap out of it? But especially when it comes to the Americans and all the global people that are putting their hearts into Trump, can you not see the play there? You are giving power to exactly the same as it is you think you're fighting, because of a quiet weapon set against you since the end of the Second World War. I rest my case on that matter. So I'll have a look at what you were saying because I have pretty much ignored you. Okay. Yeah, I do think the bandwidth has probably been attacked there. Doesn't tend to bother me. I'm not big on bandwidth or what I'm doing. Rumble could very well be something I go to, actually. Zoom. I don't have Zoom, but I do have my own servers hosting. If you ever want to get on there, just send me an email. I'll send it you. If you ever want to chat. Yeah, Rumble. All right, is he on Graham Moose over there? Is he? Yeah. Who says what he's been told to? Well, they all do, don't they? You don't have to follow these big meetings they go to every year. It's there for all to see. You know, you've got Rome in thick of this. Rome the Empire. You could put a video up on YouTube saying, due to the insane censorship, a link to the full interview below. Yeah, I've seen that happen. Yeah, that's possibly a good method. They're all monitored, and I know that Rumble's appearing to do okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just another method of stopping everybody starting to think, fuck this, let's set our own up. Do you know what I'm saying? As they crumble one, they set up another, get everybody on it, that crumbles. Oh, but there's another. And you're just pissing around, swimming in dog shit, till eventually they switch them all off. And while that's going on, everybody out there just thinks, well, I don't need to do any effort and do fuck all. They're doing it for me. We just run over there. You know, we've got to think like this, chaps. We've really got to think like this. Now, from what I can gather, it's quite costly to set up these kind of video systems because of bandwidth. Because obviously, the platform that sets it up has to pay for the bandwidth. Therefore, if you have 100 people watching a video, that's a lot of bloody bandwidth going on. But yet, you know, all those out there on our own little pass, you know, grouping together as we are these days, together as a group of a lot of people, that's not it's a feasible option. But then, of course, we're all going to have to chip in. We're all going to have to chip in on something like that. So I'm not at all confident that any of these newbies that set up are actually going to be worth putting all your efforts onto there. We'd be better off, all of us at this time point, starting to look at how we can create our own, basically, which means having your own servers on your site, in your control, but the bandwidth obviously has to be paid for. So there, maybe that's what we need to be looking at instead of keep hopscotching onto all these new stuff. Mango wanted central banks in that is an old mantra about the central banks, but I think it's beyond that now because they're moving everything into the internet, aren't they? They own everything under trust. They don't actually own it. This is what people need to get savvy to. They've set up a trust. It's up to us to say, fuck off, you're not doing it right. That's garbage. What you're doing is not right. You've breached the trust. You've lost the contract. Piss off. And that needs to be done in every town. So your council properties, straight away, bring them back into your boundary. You get all your people to pay a rateable value to your new council. Yeah. We exercise the prepaid energy systems, which means you get rid of all these stupid fucking meters out of your properties, and we take what's already ours via our estates and remove all the contracts that this bankrupt government have signed when they decided to privatise what isn't theirs to privatise. But we have to start thinking like this now. We're running out of time. There has to be some kind of system at the back end for people as this charade moves forward. Otherwise, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. Operation Mindcrime. Well, that's definitely going on. Well, I was quite surprised to see that many people actually, police forces actually using it. Trump has made a deal to be president again 5th November 2024. However, Ghislaine Maxwell could stop that. Yeah, that's quite possible because I've said this before. I was looking into Trump for quite a long time, and what I did recognise is when it was starting, because Trump was still president, when the data started coming out implicating Trump, not only with Epstein, but also with strange behaviours to minors, including his daughter. Now, that were coming out. I didn't present any of that. That's just what I was seeing. All of a sudden, Prince Andrew got pulled out and took all the media attention. Yeah, and what I kept pointing out at the time was, well, hang on a minute, she was 17 and she was paid 15 grand for 3 sessions. What's wrong with that? I think in America, it's that the age of consent might be a bit above, so it matters in America. But it doesn't matter a toss here. 17-year-old girl is more than equipped to decide what she wants to do. So, they're not children. And the word paedophile gets misused. Paedophile is somebody who's attracted to prepubescent children. It's a hebovile, anybody post-pubescent. And again, these words get misrepresented and they lose their value in describing what needs to be described, So again, we have to try not to fall foul of that, use the correct terminology. I mean, I don't believe this Maxwell thing is anything other than it'll be another whitewash. I mean, I've got his little black book on site. I've got the unredacted little black book on site. It's pretty clear what's in there, from which I made videos to show that so many of these people and the positions in the system, when that position needed to be brought under the Epstein science that were funded by Epstein in MIT and Harvard, and then now we dance into that show, that science, those experts. They're not experts and it's not science because it doesn't add up. None of it adds up, so how could it possibly be science? Yeah, my internet went off the other night, actually. So, yeah, I'm aware that a lot of they're playing a lot. They're doing a lot, aren't they, basically? They're upgrading the system. Because I said to a lot of people in our town, these towers haven't been turned on yet. I'm not saying that they're not practicing now and again, but they haven't turned them on yet. They're still putting them up. And they're going up left, right, and centre. And what they appear to be doing up here, I don't know whether they're going to do that anywhere else, is they're now putting wooden telegraph poles up to carry the fibre broadband, which, to be honest, it's going to be a lot cheaper and less messy than digging up everybody's pavement, isn't it? So probably a good idea if that's what they're doing. But I would suggest that what they're putting up on these telegraph poles isn't a part of the mainframe grid, which I would suggest had to be underground to stop anybody ripping it down. They're not bothered about the domestic internet going down, but they are certainly bothered about their central grid going down. So much so, when the juice starts running out, you can guarantee they'll keep that system going. So you'll be losing power and energy at the expense of this system that, according to the French guy, can do some very nasty things, and cited Rwanda as the first test. Yeah, I think they are doing a lot of updating, to be honest. So you might be right there. Well, chaps, I've pretty much expounded what I wanted to get out, because that needs to be thought about. This schismogenesis and the feedback loop. Because how many of us have suffered that on a particular situation we've found ourselves in, where no matter how we can't think ourselves out of it, we just keep going around in circles. And then finally you get the epiphany, or somebody points something out and it breaks that loop. So this is what they've done to everybody. Now we can surely approach everybody a little bit differently. Because first they need to understand that that's what's happened to them. And then the mechanic out, which is where people like us come in, because we can prompt them and help them flip out of this degenerative feedback loop that just gets more and more amplified the more contradiction and fear that gets pumped out into the system. So with that, chaps, that's 3 videos that make up this Sunday night live stream. If nothing goes wrong in that way, I don't know. But just to end, as I said, it looks like to me in Australia you've got a similar situation to what Trump has carried out in America, and that our friend Mr. Rudd and his co-conspirators are the Civvy Street branch of that very mechanic. However, I'm only a fringe lunatic, and with that, I will say, till the next time.